So, so we have passed the NFL draft, and first thoughts are that honestly, number one, I wanted to go through round by round. I thought I don't know if it's round by round or maybe selection by selection or not pick by pick. I mean, but I wanted to make a couple of videos, and I think this is the best way to start. And the best way to start is by saying in round one, in round one, I didn't expect the Bills to trade out, but I guess the Bills did what they could to get some tools. I mean, to get some draft capital. The Vikings did move. They traded up with the Jets and swapped with the Jets. And I mean, I honestly don't know what to say about the amount of quarterbacks taken in the first round, but in my opinion, the Commanders and the Bears both struck it gold and made the right choice. You know, they both made the right choice. But I think that the Giants made the best possible choice for their team with Malik Neighbors going to the Giants. I think that that the Giants picking a wide receiver to get some tools for their quarterback and quarterback of the future makes a hell of a lot more sense than picking a new quarterback. Even though a lot of the quarterbacks that were off the board by pick 15 would have still been there, it would have been a mistake to jump for a quarterback. As far as the Vikings and the Broncos picking Bo Nix and J.J. McCarthy respectively, and the Falcons picking Michael Penix Jr., I think that project quarterbacks, which are what Bo Nix, J.J. McCarthy, and Michael Penix Jr. are, I mean, I wonder what the logic was signing Kirk Cousins in free agency and still taking a quarterback. I mean, at least Michael Penix can learn from Kirk Cousins, just like JJ can learn from Sam Darnold and Josh McCown in Minnesota. Bo Nix, he's got a wide open slot with Zach Wilson, Jared Stidham, and a an interesting receiver room. I mean, an interesting quarterback room in Denver, but expectations should be low for Bo Nix, at least in Denver, which will help him, in my opinion. And at least Sean Payton now will have they will have time to develop Bo Nix, and it'll give Sean Payton the opportunity to develop his quarterback as opposed to inheriting the quarterback of the previous regime. Do I agree with the decision to release Russell Wilson? I agree with the decision more than I agreed with the decision to sign him in the first place. But if you were going to release him, then you should have thought about that before you gave him the big contract. Do I agree with the Patriots taking Drake May? We'll get there. We'll get there. The Jets, I believe, I could be wrong, but I think I even had the Jets picking Alomi Olufashanu. No, I actually had the Jets picking Joe Alt. And unfortunately, I did not take a picture of the second draft I did. So I don't know who I had in the draft. To be fair, in the first draft I did, round one, the first mock draft I did, I had J.J. McCarthy going to the New York Giants. But I think having him go at pick six, you can't keep cycling through and saying every couple years you're going to start with a quarterback and not build around him and get people there for him to have for the quarterback to have tools to throw to. Like now, Brock Bowers joins Devontae Adams and a solid receiving core with the Raiders. But the question is, did the Raiders need a tight end? Solid question. Solid question. In my opinion, no. I think based on from what I remember, I always had them going with either an offensive line talent like Jackson Powers Johnson or somebody on the defensive side. And actually, from what I remember, I think in the second round, in the second mock draft I had them picking a cornerback. Because I thought from the research I did that all signs pointed to them taking a cornerback in the first round. So it is a little questionable why they chose to take Brock Bowers. Not to say Brock Bowers was not good, and the fact that Brock actually dropped to the top 13, I'm kind of surprised by that nobody else was willing to take him. But, especially if I was Minnesota, just bear with me on this. If I was Minnesota, I would have at least considered taking somebody like, actually, they wouldn't have needed Brock Bowers because they got Hawkinson. If I was Denver, let me scale back on that one. If I was Denver, I would at least have considered taking Brock Bowers and letting Bo Nix stay. Even if it meant letting Bo Nix end up in the Las Vegas, you could, if you were picking a project quarterback, there are other project quarterbacks there. But again, with how quick it's like seeing pitchers go off the board in, it's like pitchers going off the board in a baseball fantasy draft. It's just. I don't know. But as far as Xavier Worthy going to the Chiefs, I think the showcase at the Combine helped him get picked by the Chiefs at 28. And honestly, I had a receiver, I think Adonai Mitchell, and I had Adonai Mitchell and I had Adonai Mitchell and I had Adonai Mitchell and I believe Troy Franklin going to Kansas City. Oh no, sorry, I had Marius Mims and the other one go to Kansas City. But with Oakland, yeah, I had Terrion Arnold going to Oakland instead of Detroit. Picking him. I also think that Ricky Parasol got picked by San Francisco because they do intend on trading one of their wide receivers. either Debo or Brandon Ayuk, so it would make sense to get a little depth in there just in case. But I did want to revisit two spots, and the two spots I wanted to revisit were Minnesota and um, Minnesota and Denver, as well as New England. The reason why I want to revisit Denver is because in the process of reading the outlook on the trade, I kind of agree with what this person said, that it was a reach by the Broncos, and the smart decision would have been trading back instead of moving up, instead of staying pat, trading back, maybe with a team that wanted to move up. The reason why I don't think the Broncos traded back is because of the Raiders, and that if Bo Nix was still on the board, they probably would have drafted Bo Nix instead of Brock Bowers. So I think that the Broncos took him because of the fact that they thought that if they traded back, that the Raiders would have taken him. Um, is that reality? I don't know, but I kind of agree with what this person said, that they could have traded back and at least gotten some draft capital. Even if they didn't get Bo Nix, there's other quarterback talents worth a flyer. And I think, for example, a team like the Rams, who addressed their defensive side because they lost Aaron Donald, will be addressing quarterback in either round 2 or round 3, or maybe round 4, with somebody like Spencer Rattler or Joe Milton going to Los Angeles to address the eventual departure of Matt Stafford and being Matt Stafford's heir apparent. The reason why I don't like Minnesota is this. You trade up one spot to get J.J. McCarthy. Was it necessary to switch with the Jets, or could you have taken J.J. staying pat at number 11 and held the draft capital? I think you could have stayed pat at number 11 and held the draft capital. I think that the move to move up to number 17 was a smart decision. I believe they traded back with the traded with the Jaguars. So that was a smart decision, getting Dallas Turner, top edge rusher, top player on the defensive side in the draft, was a smart decision by the Vikings. I even had Dallas Turner going to the Falcons instead. But I agree with, and I agree with their top 17 pick, but I don't agree with them switching with the Jets. There was no need for it because the Jets were not going to pick J.J. McCarthy. And you could have held whatever draft capital you traded to get that spot to pick J.J. I don't dislike J.J. as a pick. He played in the bowl game. He was a star quarterback in Michigan. And reality is, he doesn't need to start this season. Sam Darnold can start, and they could give JJ time to develop, which they should, because the reality is, the pressure, it would be unfair pressure to put on JJ just because of JJ, Jordan Addison, and TJ Hawkinson, and the competitive window being open now. It would be unfair to put that pressure on JJ McCarthy, because there's going to be a hell of a lot more pressure on Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels being 1 and number 2, and Caleb Williams going to the Bears. I also agree. I want to address this. I agree with Rome Odunze going to the Bears because Keenan Allen is not a sure thing, and it also gives them a third option alongside Keenan Allen and DJ Moore. So it was a smart decision by the Bears. The reason why I would have held off if I was the Patriots on picking Drake May is because it is a good quarterback to develop. It's a project quarterback. And you can say he has mechanical problems. Fine tuning, he just needs a little bit of time. You know, there's no reason for the Patriots to rush him. I understand the pick. They like the talent. I understand it. But I just don't know if they wouldn't have benefited more from trading back and addressing other things that have to do with the team before addressing the quarterback position. You know, unless they view Drake May as that much of a sure thing that they wanted to pick him now and didn't want to risk it, which I understand, but I just don't know if it was the right decision. You know, I don't know if it's what I would have done. You know, looking at it from this perspective now, I kind of agree with it a little bit more than when the draft went on, but it's just not how I build a team. But I'm not the one that's managing the team; they are, so I understand it. I just don't know if it's how I would have done it. But also, I just want to point out that it's possible that they weren't getting the right deal, where they couldn't say no from the teams that were offering for the spot. And that's why they took the deal. Because they valued the talent more than the offers that they were getting from the Giants and the Vikings, and that is understandable. So I understand it from that perspective. Even though I do think Drake May would have benefited more from being in Minnesota than JJ McCarthy, because I don't know how much a project quarterback fits the Vikings need. Because I think JJ is more of a project quarterback. But you know, this is just my thoughts. If you guys have any opinions or thoughts, feel free to drop them in the comment section. If you want more content on the draft, let me know down in the comment section below, and I will see you guys again very soon, as I will be sharing my opinions on the rest of the draft too. But with that being said, I will see you in the next one.